Today, my friends, I'm excited to talk about Canon's newest release, or a teaser anyways, about the R3. This is going to be a camera that sits right in between the R5 and the 1DX Mark III flagship, and it's going to rival Sony's A1, which of course at this point is the world's best camera if you ask me. And the battle for mirrorless supremacy continues, which is fantastic for us consumers. Now, of course, this is going to be a very high-end, very flagship-ish kind of camera from Canon, and I'm not so very much excited for these cameras as a whole because, well, I really can't afford them, and most people can't afford these cameras. It's the spill-off that we get into the cameras that we can afford, which is really, really exciting for me. So what are we looking at here? We're looking at probably a 40 to 50 megapixel beast of a camera and Canon's first stacked sensor, which means incredibly high readout, 30 frames per second shooting, which is just bananas. It's gonna have updated dual pixel autofocus, which is just crazy to begin with. And it's also gonna reboot some technology that we saw a few decades ago, which is eye control autofocus, meaning as you look through your EVF, what you look at is what the camera's actually gonna focus on. So a little bit gimmicky back in the day, but with the technology that we have these days, I'm really excited to see what this thing can give us. And it's pretty amazing to think because with the R5 and the 1DX Mark III, it's almost like cheating anyways because the autofocus is just so good. You've got bird autofocus that is catching things in the air, and we're talking tiny birds moving really, really quickly. It's almost cheating. It's just crazy. So I'm so excited to see what we actually get out of this thing and how it spills over to the cheaper cameras, like I said, and how the other companies respond in kind, which is what this keeps this whole thing going. So let's talk about what this thing is. It's, again, Canon's first stacked sensor, which is really exciting. Most likely we're talking CF Express, and you're gonna need some really high capacity and really fast memory cards to keep up with this kind of stuff. It's still unclear what kind of shutter mechanisms we're gonna be talking about, how fast electronic versus mechanical, and of course, how this sensor is gonna perform in terms of dynamic range and all that jazz, color science. I was really surprised to see the A1 from Sony and how that dynamic range is just competing and in fact beating, cameras that have half the megapixels. It's absolutely insane. So as you can see here, the Canon R3 is going to be a beast of a camera. It's going to follow suit in the same kind of body style as the 1DX Mark III, but it is a mirrorless, of course. And yeah, it's big. It's really big. So in that regard, it doesn't really compare to the Sony A1, which is a lot smaller. Let me know your thoughts on that, on the size overall. I'm not really thrilled to see that kind of grip built in there, and I can imagine that it's gonna have pretty decent battery life. You can probably stuff a few in there, but I would really like to see at this point Canon up their game in terms of battery performance. Sony has the absolute corner of that with their Z-type battery. It's not even close. So I'd really like to see them come and push the envelope on battery life moving forward. For me, again, I weigh all the pros and cons of everything, and I'm not really tied to any one manufacturer. That's one of the things that I would really love to see them kind of capitalize on and improve if I'm ever gonna kind of go back to that route. But I'm loving to see their cameras coming out. I'm loving to see some of the amazing glass that's coming out. Yeah, sure, it's expensive, but look what you're getting. It's phenomenal. So let's get back to this camera. What else are we looking at? Improved dual pixel autofocus. Again, the autofocus is already incredible in all these cameras. To see it further improved is just, it's amazing. I cannot wait to see what this thing can do. Rumor has it we're gonna have a optical viewfinder-like experience that's probably gonna be, I'm gonna say, rivaling the A7S III's viewfinder, which is pushing 10 million pixels. Absolutely incredible, but really good to see because there's really nothing like looking through that optical viewfinder, but you really couldn't pay me to go backwards because I love my live view. I love seeing things in real time. That's just amazing. And that's the step forward that we're all looking for here. So it does have that big integrated grip, and it's gonna be incredibly well weather sealed like the 1DX line. So they kind of put in the mirrorless side of things and also the DSLR side of things and bringing that all together. Again, I don't know how I really feel like that. I would like to see it a little bit smaller, but again, let me know what you think. As far as this thing's video capabilities, we're really not sure. We don't have a lot of information. I'm going to assume that it's going to shoot probably in 8K. It's not going to be probably tailored as much towards video as it is for photography in this aspect, but you can probably expect that it's going to be able to be quite capable. Now, Canon's been pumping out some pretty amazing lenses, like I said, but the real question is how many of them can keep up with this thing's insane 30 frames per second shooting speed? That's the real question, and that's what matters moving forward. Of course, when you get all these crazy high-end lenses with the best and fastest autofocusing motors, they're really future-proofing them. And again, that's what part of it, what you're gonna pay for. So I would love to see a list and what's capable of actually achieving that speed. Other than that, when can we expect to see this thing? Well, rumor has it they're gonna try and get this thing out by July 23rd or the start of the Tokyo Olympics. And it's rumored to cost around $8,500 US, an incredibly expensive camera with, well, everything you could ever dream of. And I'm excited for this thing. Again, mainly to see what kind of spills off and trickles down in future iterations of some of the cheaper cameras. So guys, let me know your thoughts on this thing. What are you most excited about? If you know something that I don't know, let me know down in the comments. Are you planning on picking this thing up? If not, which camera and which company are you sticking with these days? Guys, thanks so much for watching. And if you did like this video, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, join the community, and like always, make mistakes, be yourself, and get out there and take some more pictures. See you next time.